Hello friends, welcome to my video, the top 5 reasons why Indiana Jones 5 flopped, in my opinion, of course. Number 5. Indiana Jones is big in the public consciousness as much as other franchises like Marvel Star Wars. Indiana Jones has always been a well-known character in pop culture and has appeared in 4 previous films and numerous books and comics and even a TV show. But it's been a while since Kingdom of the Crystal Skull premiered in theaters. It's been 15 years to be exact, and while some things can come back after a long period of time and break all kinds of records at the box office, like Top Gun Maverick and Avatar 2 The Way of Water, not the same can unfortunately be said about Indiana Jones. Was it too long of a wait in between movies? Maybe not. Everyone cared to see an old Harrison Ford back as the character. Maybe it's just that Indiana Jones isn't as popular nowadays as he once was, and if you look at the box office returns, maybe that's a fair argument to make. While the first 3 Indiana Jones movies will all have a place in the pop culture geist, it's been a long time since we've had a lot of indie, so he hasn't been in the pop culture as much as the other big franchises, and it's pretty sad because this movie will lose maybe $100 million at the end of this run, which is a whole lot of money. I mean, it's incredible to even think of how much money that is. $100 million, a movie losing that much, like, people get fired. I don't know what's gonna happen to Kathleen Kennedy, but I mean, it's amazing that Indy 5 lost that much money. Number 4, James Mangold. Steven Spielberg and Indiana Jones go hand in hand together. So when it was announced back in 2020 that Spielberg was passing on the directing job to James Mangold, a lot of people were concerned, as was I. But I also thought that James Mangold was a great choice to pass the baton from Steven Spielberg. James Mangold did fantastic movies. He's done some okay films, but overall, he's done terrific movies. And if Steven Spielberg is gonna hand the directing duties for Indiana Jones 5 to someone else, James Mangold is a great pick. Steven Spielberg had probably been tired of how many times the script had been reworked and wanted to do other projects, and I can't blame him because Indy 5 was supposed to come out like in 2021 or something, and it got pushed back so many times. I think that this James might have had an effect at the box office, since maybe many people didn't want to see a less Indiana Jones film because he's so with the franchise now, and George Lucas isn't part of this new movie too. So I think that had an impact on the film as well. He doesn't have this resume of Spielberg, but rarely do any directors have that. I mean, that, to be fair. He was a solid choice, and while he doesn't deliver the greatest Indiana Jones movie, I still believe that he was a good pick for the job at the time. I can't wait to see what Mangold does next with his upcoming Star Wars film. I still think that Mangold is a terrific talent. Hire him for anything, and I mean, let's go. He's just fantastic director. He's done movies like 310 to Yuma, Ford v Ferrari, and Logan, which I think is the best movie that he made. That movie is just incredible. And Ford v Ferrari 2, it's just an amazing movie. So I had a lot of faith going in. He disappointed me a bit, but I don't think he's sorely to blame on this one. I think Lucasfilm can get a lot of the blame too. I think that goes hand in hand. Number 3, the script. I think that's one of the biggest issues with the box office disappointment of Dial of Destiny was its script. It was very lackluster, and while it was better than its previous installment, it did not leave the franchise on a high note. It depends on who you ask, but the movie received disappointing critic scores upon release compared to other movies in the franchise. It is also the lowest rated Indiana Jones film on Rotten Tomatoes. The script was written by Mangold and co-written with Jess Butterworth, John Henry Butterworth, and David Coep. That's a lot of people for a script, and that sometimes can get messy. Not maybe all the time, but having too many people work on a script isn't always the best idea. I also believe that Lucasfilm perhaps might have gotten involved in the creative process and probably gave clip notes to Mangold on what they wanted in the movie. That's possible. Again, I don't feel like this is a director's movie. I feel like this is a studio's movie, if that makes any sense. There are many similar story beats that are similar to Star Wars present here, like the de-aging Harrison Ford. Star Wars has de-aged many actors over the last few years. Uh, for the prologue, yeah, the movie we had, that is a very integral part of the film, but it also takes you out of the film. So that's one element I think is similar to the other Star Wars Lucasfilm projects. And I also think that Harrison Ford, now older and dealing with the loss of his son and his separation with Marion, is also a bit similar, like with his separation with Leia over the loss of Ben Solo, which is now Kylo Ren. He didn't die like Mud did, but it's still very familiar. It's very familiar territory, and it has the same actors from the same studio. So it kind of feels like they copied and pasted this very important plot point of the film, which I wasn't very a big fan of. I prefer to see a light Indiana Jones rather than just a grumpy old man that is Harrison Ford most of the time. I thought it worked for Luke Skywalker because I felt like that's what the character needed, but here I don't think the journey really warranted that grumpy old Harrison Ford. And just how I felt about it. Also, I think the characters are very unlikable. Phoebe Waller-Bridge and the kid were just dead weight. I mean, Indiana Jones could have very well have gone on this adventure by himself, and I think the movie would have been better for it. You could have added like Sala, which is a fan favorite of the franchise, or Short Round even. But Short Round didn't win his Oscar probably before this movie started filming, so they didn't think of adding the actor because he wasn't well known, and now he is. So I think they probably should have added Short Round in this. So yeah, I think Marion could have had a bigger role in this movie. It's kind of lackluster to see her just arrive back in at the end, and they've split up so many times too. I mean, at one point, do you have to go, okay, this relationship isn't working anymore? It's sort of redundant. So, and yeah, so the script I don't think is perfect here. I think it could have used a lot of rewrites. I liked what they went after, the Dial of Destiny. I just feel like they could have done more with it, and more. I don't mean more action scenes, but more, you know, more events throughout the story. But uh, that's neither here nor there. I just think that the script could have used a lot more work, and I think a lot of people knew that going in because the film premiered at Cannes and it did not receive a warm reception, to put it kindly. I think the producers and everyone at Lucasfilm thought that everyone was gonna love this film, and that did not turn out to be the case. I think that it was a mistake, and since the film premiered so early, people kind of like saw how people were reacting to it, and they decided not to go see it. So I think that's a drawback of it as well. Number 2, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Oh boy. The third Indiana Jones movie premiered in 2008, and while it received positive reviews from critics, which I do not understand at all, many fans believe that it completely destroyed the franchise. The movie was filled with very bad decisions from the opening frame, and it's proof that even filmmakers at the top of their game, like Steven Spielberg, can deliver bad movies from time to time. We've seen it happen over and over again. Just because it's a proven director with a great track record won't automatically mean that he's gonna make a great movie. It helps. It helps a lot, but sometimes even a director can have a bad day at the office, or in this case, several bad days. I think that the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull reception had huge impact on this movie. While Lucasfilm managed to save Star Wars even after the prequels back in 2015 with The Force Awakens, Indiana Jones unfortunately did not follow the same fate. I think the backlash of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was so huge that it did not have the reverse effect that The Force Awakens had when it was released with the prequels. The prequels had so much backlash, and people wanted new Star Wars, while I think this time around it did not work. I think a lot of people were maybe tired of Indiana Jones and wanted only to see the character end, or maybe reboot, maybe. I would have much preferred to have seen any in the Haunted Mansion film that has been envisioned than the Dial of Destiny or Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I think that would have been a much more interesting movie, and I would have liked to have seen him in like a smaller environment and dealing with like horror elements. That I think would have been much more cool and different than what we've had with Indiana Jones. I think that Crystal Skull was simply a bad calculated move on everyone, and included Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, and did a lot of harm to the Indiana Jones name, the Indiana Jones franchise, which arguably had a great ending in Last Crusade, with ending with Indy and his father riding off to the sunset. I think that ending was very well deserved. I think it was perfect. And to do Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, you had to have a very good reason to do it. And I don't think that the reason was good enough. So I think a lot of fans probably did think so as well. Number 1, insane budget that the movie didn't need. I think that's a problem with Hollywood today, and they have much bigger budgets that they actually need, and I think it's hurting their business overall. I believe that number 1 reason why Indy 5 flopped was because it had an insane budget of $300 million. Lucasfilm probably thought that's the movie they needed, but the box office results prove otherwise. The budget really probably went a lot in the beginning with the de-aging, which could have been cut out, not cut out, but cut down, if they had just simply used another actor in the role. I mean, that's what they did in the 2000s, 1990s, 1980s. You don't have to de-age an actor. You can just use a younger actor to play the part. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's not. Well, I don't know why Lucasfilm or Disney are so obsessed with using this de-aging technology, where you can tell it's not the same person that does the action or that say the words. Maybe it's the same person that say the words, but it just feels strange. Harrison Ford was the one who spoke through the young Indy's lips, and it doesn't work. It just doesn't. You can have as much as special effects artists work on that, and it will take you out of the scene every time. I think the best way to go is just recast put a younger actor in there, and get ready to go. You can save tons of money. You don't put people out of the scene, and I actually think it would have been better a movie, better at least of an opening if they had done that. Also, the ending is it's way much too special effects heavy. You didn't need that kind of budget, or that kind of action scene at the end, because I know that's where probably most of the money went. And for Indiana Jones, it's really completely useless. Indiana Jones endings usually takes place in smaller spots, and they don't involve huge tons of CGI. It works. It's not overblown, and here it was. And I feel like maybe you could have found a way around it. You could have brought them into the past, but not maybe have a giant battle or something. I don't know. You could have saved a lot of money on this movie, and I feel like a lot of bad decisions were made. And I think that Indiana Jones could have remade its budget back if a lot of things were scaled down. And I just don't understand how or why they needed to spend 300 millions on this movie. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me anyways, and I don't think it's sustainable enough for the box office. I really don't. I think it's a mistake on Lucasfilm's part, on Disney's part, to think that this movie would have grossed maybe $1 billion when, I don't know, it's been a while since we've had an Indiana Jones movie in theaters, and people didn't really respond to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Call me crazy. Those are my top 5 reasons why I think Indy flopped in theaters. Let me know your reasons down below. Let me know if you enjoyed Indiana Jones 5, or were you let down by it. Why do you think it flopped? Let me know. As always, see you next time.